Carson, can you, for any listeners or watchers or anybody viewing this, can you explain maybe who we are, who is involved, kind of what's our mission, what are we doing here?
Yeah, that's a great question. I get that asked often. And just to always go back to the origin, I was on staff at a church and I made the decision to transition off staff, start a business, which was awesome. But I still wanted to be committed, submitted to the local church that I was a part of. So I was serving like crazy. I'm exactly what you want from your volunteers, your serve team, your dream team. And I noticed this trend that the more involved you get in church, the more notifications you're going to get. So I wanted to build a system around that so that you don't get blown up. I was in 10 or 15 big group messages. I was serving at multiple service times, multiple locations, and it became so overwhelming. And most people just silence the group message, but that doesn't help. Now your communication is falling on deaf ears. So I was like, there's got to be a better way. That's when we started building a group chat where you can roster your teams and you can accept or decline from your favorite calendar. And based off if you accept or decline, you get, notifications or you don't get notifications. So that's really the genesis of how it happened in the why and
Hmm.
why we're building this thing to really get more people involved in church, to give them that relevant communication.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think something that I've heard consistently with churches and even within our branding, even is simplify your systems. Can you
Yeah.
talk about maybe the importance of why we need to simplify our systems? Why we need to make somebody's life easier, more convenient? Because we know that getting somebody onboarded on a team is
Yeah.
hard enough. Like, why should we simplify our systems as a church organization and kind of organism as the bigger body?
Yeah. When people raise their hand to be a part of what you're doing, that's incredible. But often you have to have a system of communicating with them. And naturally, what people want to do is just come to them and serve them in the ways they can. That might be a text, that might turn into a group message. And as systems get larger, that becomes some type of tool or series of apps. And that's what ends up happening. What I see in most large churches is they're like, hey, new volunteer, download Slack, download Planning Center, download this. Oh, and also, are you going to help us during the week? Here, get on this planning software where we assign you tasks. It becomes 3 or 4 different apps that you're asking, maybe a soccer mom or grandma or
Hmm.
someone who's still in high school to learn. And that's just so much friction to throw at a volunteer to get to what you want to do, which is right, solving the problems you have in your church so that you can support and fulfill the vision and mission of your house. So we wanted to bring a lot of what you're doing in church into one app so that stuff can get done and it can get done simply. So simplifying your
Hmm.
systems has been a big part of, what you said, what we say, but just to can it be as easy as iMessage? Can it be
Hmm.
just simple messaging with some of the features that you do need built right in? And that's what we've been.
Yeah. No, what I'd love to hear from you is even like as you've talked to churches since the beginning of this thing. Now we're still kind of in the beginning, obviously,
Yeah.
but kind of
Yeah. Right.
more matured anyways in our systems and all that. Like, what are the things that you've heard most that just from the problem side, not even us as involved, like things that they're excited about, the really the pain points of churches all across our country are saying, I mean, these are things that are actual problems for us. Maybe it's onboarding, maybe it's culture, maybe it's whatever. Again, just
Yeah.
as you've talked to all these churches, what are things you've heard?
For sure. Well, from the platform to all the leader roles, like everyone says, let's get more people involved. Let's get a volunteer to do it. Let's empower people, let's enable them. Let's get them activated. We say those things, but then we really haven't put the system together in place for that to happen a lot of times, So that's really a big pain point is like obviously you want people. Like I think of the image, maybe we should post it on the Involve account later. It's like there's this Amish community that literally moves an entire barn together. It's like hundreds of people. I have to send you the clip. But that's what I see the body of Christ needing to do. We need to pick up our individual crosses, carry them daily, and together we can make big things move. We can make mountains move when we get lots of people involved in church. And that's always what we say we want, but oftentimes we end up not doing that. And like
Mhm.
some of the, just to boil that down really simply, it's like, we blow people up in group messages, roster out through the end of the year, and people don't even accept their role, or worse, they decline. I don't know.
Mhm.
I don't know what's worse. I think that people being left unaccepted is worse than decline. Declining says, "Hey, I saw this and I declined it."
Mhm.
They actually did respond. They saw it, but If you've got people on your team that consistently are not accepting their position but still showing up, that tells you there's a communication gap. That tells you that people aren't bought in. They're kind of showing up, but they're still not fully adopting your systems. And it's what I see in churches, and churches don't even know it's a problem. They say, "Hey, we're going to use Slack. Hey, we're going to use WhatsApp," and they start communicating there, but not everybody joins you.
Right.
Not everybody's there. Not everybody's getting that communication. So we've
Yeah.
really tried to solve that problem to make sure that the relevant information gets to you and not all the notifications, right?
No, yeah, for sure. Can you talk to me a little bit about the kind of current state of Involve? Like what has changed maybe over the last month, maybe over the last couple of weeks? Like what are some things that we can see when we download the app, update it, and see the things maybe, or not the things that we don't see, but still make it more of an effective app?
Yeah. A big evolution of the product is in the beginning, it was very simple messaging and events, basic, right? And we wanted to continue to provide more value in each group message. So we introduced tabs across the top of each group message you jump into. So, like an iMessage group, you jump into that group message, and then you can see more information around the chat, whether that be events or tasks. And that's been a big evolution change where you actually have a bit of a menu inside of each group that you're in. And we have big plans moving forward to do more with file management, team collaboration. Those are things we're really leaning into in the next month, which I'm very excited about.
hmm No, I mean it's been so much fun just see being a part of the
Yeah.
involved team and kind of seeing where churches are going. Because really, what gets me excited about being a part of Involve, or any of you listeners, what gets should get you excited about even downloading Involve because it's just an app for you to actually see change in your volunteers. Because I think we get so systematized with church or even familiar with church
Right, right.
that we forget about the one person who got saved last week and is excited about going to church and being a part of the church. The
Yeah.
problem is there's that gap, right, of where we're going as a church and practically how do we get there. I just talked about it on a podcast yesterday, like vision and mission. Like those are the things that build church. You have a vision and a mission, and I think Involve practically is a part of that mission. So if there's a listener or a viewer listening to this, man, I would love to get on a call with you. Carson would love just to talk about honestly, to hear your vision and what God's doing in your church, but also the mission, because sometimes our missions can be very disoriented, confusing, or worse, you don't even have one. Have you seen any things with churches where you're like, man, this is we need to have a mission. Like we need to actually have a plan here because I think Involve is a system and systems deliver the mission.
Yeah.
And that's where we're headed, of course, and that's where we're here today. So Carson, do you have any thoughts of the church and mission oriented churches and making sure we're doing our due diligence with our
Yeah.
volunteers?
I think it's some of that goes back to the why, the discovery. Like you started this church, and you have goals in mind. And when you start communicating to people, it's important to let them know, what you're doing, why you're doing it, and why it matters.
Mhm,
And I know that so many people, that lead a team or lead in church, they sometimes they can't stop and answer those questions for themselves. So I don't know if I have the
mhm,
solution, but you know, making sure you can always clearly answer those questions for every
mhm.
event you're hosting, for every team you're leading, that's really going to give you the clarity, the potency that it is that's going to help you, put the blocks together and build the thing that God's called you to. So,
Mhm. No, I love it. Carson, give us a last word of encouragement. Talk to the volunteer, talk to the servant leader, talk to the lead
mm,
pastor,
yeah.
talk to him, encourage him.
Yeah, well, beyond, software in general, software is a tool, but it
Mhm,
comes, from the heart first. You got to have a heart for people. If you want to be more Christ-like, Christ was his love for people. That's what it was. And I think we've got to desire that for ourselves. And it's so easy to get into a system, to get into a rhythm, to get into a church bubble and feel like you're doing the Lord's work. And then like when's the last time, on staff you followed up with someone? When's the last time you went and got a coffee? Because
mhm,
we're like, well, we got team members that do that. I'm like, nah, man, the whole staff should look like that. I like to say, prove it. That's what I say around my church. It's like, let
mhm.
prove it. Let's see it. It's Monday. Sunday is over, but it's still Monday is prove it day.
Mhm.
So yeah, like I
So
would
good.
just say, in what ways are you getting into people's worlds and just prove it. That's my encouragement for you.
Oh, I love it. And thank you guys so much for listening to this. Seriously, Carson and I think the world of every single person watching this. We think you are truly changing a complete zip code, a neighborhood, a
Right.
region for the message of Jesus and the people that you're putting in heart and soul. We
Yes.
understand people are hurting you, betraying you,
Yeah.
loving you to your face. We get it. We understand. We've been in church and we simply want to just be a resource and a soundboard for you. So again, if you have any questions or concerns or insights, opinions, we love it all. We love it all. So we
Right.
appreciate you guys. We'll
Definitely.
talk
One more
soon.
thing, I was gonna just say this is Josh's doing, but Josh wants to give as much value as possible to churches. We're here to resource churches, and we
Hmm.
are doing 60 days free. Try it, love it, or leave it. That's kind of what we're
Let's
saying.
go.
So there's no excuse, when it comes to what we're doing. Like you have
Hmm.
access to it, and yeah, thank Josh. No promo code. It's just thank Josh
That
because
is
you
the
have it
promo
free for
code.
60 days now.
Let's go.